Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
So at this point, you are hereby suspended from any further shifts with Eddie Bauer. Someone from corporate offices will be in contact with you next week, more than likely Tuesday or Wednesday, since it is a holiday in the US. And that's all I have to say today.
I'm suspended and I have to wait till Tuesday or Wednesday for corporate to contact me.
Does Eddie Bauer typically warn people without telling them what the policy is that they're getting warned for? What about bodily autonomy? You don't want your employees to have that? They should be branded based on assumptions of vaccination?
The company policy, if I'm not mistaken, you hadn't even been aware of it exactly, right?
No, I have never seen that paper before. I've read previous policies, but this policy was updated on the 23rd of June, and it didn't reflect any of the phase 3 reopening guidelines. And I also looked on the board in the back, and the policy was nowhere to be found.
I mean, the bottom line is, if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. That's not our issue. But you have to wear a mask if you're going to be in our store. You're willing to.
And do you understand that that's discriminating against private medical information, because you have a set of rules for vaccinated individuals and a set of rules for unvaccinated individuals? And you are requesting personal private health information and using that to discriminate against me.
No, I'm not using. Here's the thing. You said something about we were making an assumption. Here's the thing. We have to make an assumption until you tell us otherwise.
This is Abigail Smart, a young and bright employee at Eddie Bauer's Tawasin location. When the mask mandate lifted, Smart dared to show her customers her bare face without first disclosing private medical information to management about whether or not she had chosen to get the COVID-19 vaccinations. BC's Public Health recommends that those who are not vaccinated wear a mask, but recommendations are in fact a choice. What exactly is the science behind forcing one employee to be masked over the other? Now, you'll see firsthand how Eddie Bauer chose to treat Abigail. We'll take you on site with us. But first, if you find it refreshing that you've found a news source willing to tell you the other side of the story when it comes to COVID-19 restrictions or their recommendations, consider helping us continue to provide free legal counsel to now over 2,000 Canadians who have found themselves in legal trouble due to tyrannical COVID-19 restrictions. You can do so by heading to fightthefines.com. Just open another tab on your device and donate what you can there, because we are doing big things with your help.
So at this point, I think your shift was 10 to 5.
It says 11 to 6 on my schedule.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there, but that's okay. No big deal.
Sorry, I genuinely came for 11.
That's totally fine. I don't know what happened. No big deal. It's no big deal at all.
Okay.
So at this point, you are hereby suspended from any further shifts with Eddie Bauer. Someone from corporate offices will be in contact with you next week, more than likely Tuesday or Wednesday, since it is a holiday in the US. And that's all I have to say today.
I'm suspended and I have to wait till Tuesday or Wednesday for corporate to contact me.
So what do you want to do?
I don't know, she's not probably going to come out for a while.
Okay, we'll follow you when you get there.
Send employees for following public health advice that masks are optional. my understanding is she's a good employee and you guys warned her without even letting her know what the new policy is? Is that how Eddie Bauer works? Sorry, does Eddie Bauer typically warn people without telling them what the policy is that they're getting warned for? What about bodily autonomy? You don't want your employees to have that? They should be branded based on assumptions of vaccination?
All right, so you're currently suspended, right?
I am. Yes, I'm suspended. I will hear from corporate on about Tuesday or Thursday, she said, and I'm just waiting to hear back. I am suspended without pay right now.
Okay. Do you think you're going to get your job back or get to work?
I don't see what grounds they have to fire me right now. I don't believe I've done anything wrong. In fact, I think I'm being treated improperly, and the workplace is starting to become hostile.
How do you feel about Abigail getting suspended without pay? Simply for not wearing a mask, which is public health advice. Did she help you get the job here? Is that true? No? How come you guys have some customers in here that don't have masks on? You're letting them have, bodily autonomy, but for your own coworkers, there's discrimination for them. They let people get fired real quick or suspension without pay indefinitely after 4 years of working here simply because masks are optional and some people are choosing to go ahead and take the mask off after, I don't know, months of a mask mandate. And I don't know, we'll check to see if she's healthy and asymptomatic, but I'm not getting really any answers here. Just keep shopping. No one's asked us to leave, so I guess we're still welcome. Right? Can we ask you a question?
It depends on what it is.
Okay, well, you can answer or not answer. We're just wondering if you think it's okay that some people, employees, are choosing not to wear a mask after public health advice.
Have they been vaxxed?
Well, that's a personal question, so.
Yeah. If they're being vaxxed, I can see them deciding not to wear a mask. Me personally, I've been vaxxed a couple of times. I'm still going to wear it for a bit, just to be on the safe side, and especially if I'm in public or in public transit.
Do you think if there's like an employee who's like, no, you know what, I'm healthy, I'm asymptomatic, and I'm ready to take the mask off, maybe they're not vaccinated, do you think that's okay? Like public health office says it is, they have no option.
Yeah, I think they should be using common sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are you okay with your coworker being let off without pay?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not talking.
Practicing her bodily autonomy. Are you not vaccinated? It's a personal question, I get it. Not vaccinated. Well, let's go out and get the full story from Abigail. I'll reach out to Eddie Bauer and see their side of the story of discriminating for medical conscience as well as bodily autonomy and overriding Mike Farnsworth, our public safety minister.
All right, Abigail, that just happened. Your initial reaction real quick.
I'm totally shocked that they're allowed to do that. I've been a loyal employee for 4.5 years. I have nothing on my record. I wore the mask for the entirety of the mandate, and now that the restrictions have been lifted, I'm going by the provincial law, and I don't feel as though I've done anything wrong. I am just standing up for what I believe in.
And how are you feeling today? Are you sick? You got a fever, cough, chills?
I don't have any symptoms. I'm completely healthy. I don't feel as though I'm a threat to anybody.
So tell us, let's rewind a bit. What was sort of the first thing that happened when you came the first time without a mask on to work?
Yeah, so on July 1st, I walked into the store. I was not presented any new policy changes. July 1st, the mask mandate was lifted provincially, and I assumed that the company would also be following the provincial guidelines. I was immediately met with a hostile manager who told me that I must wear the mask. And when I refused, she immediately called my store manager. However, I was able to work my entire shift with no issues, and an hour before the end of my shift, my store manager called me into the back. She handed me a policy that I've never seen before, and she gave me a huge write-up saying that I'm breaking company policy.
Wow. Now, the company policy, if I'm not mistaken, you hadn't even been aware of it exactly, right?
No, I have never seen that paper before. I've read previous policies, but this policy was updated on the 23rd of June, and it didn't reflect any of the phase 3 reopening guidelines. And I also looked on the board in the back, and the policy was nowhere to be found.
So part of that policy is saying that basically because you're not vaccinated, or they assumed you're not vaccinated, that's why you're wearing the mask. So did they flat out ask you, are you vaccinated?
I was asked multiple times. I refused to answer the question, and I let them know that they're not allowed to ask me that, and that that's my own private information, and that they are assuming that I am unvaccinated, and by assuming I'm unvaccinated, they're forcing me to wear a mask. I believe that's coercion, because they're trying to make my life as difficult as possible, and trying to force me to get the vaccine, or I must wear a mask indefinitely. The masks were not previously required before the pandemic for this job.
And I saw one of your coworkers in there was wearing a mask, saying, I'm wearing a mask because I only had one of the shots. Have your coworkers been pretty supportive of your stand on this, or not at all?
Not at all. I've heard lots of rumors going around about my stance on this, and it's really starting to make the workplace quite hostile, if I'm being honest.
We spoke to one of your coworkers. You said that you helped her get the job, and she was a key part of what's happening to you right now, right?
Yeah, I helped her get the job. She's someone I went to school with. I had a relationship with her, and I offered to get her a job here. And on the first day, July 1st, when I walked in, she was the one who greeted me with hostility, and she was the one that contacted my store manager.
All right, so right beside me, this is Abigail. She's been working at Eddie Bauer just around the corner for the last 4 years. She just got suspended indefinitely without pay because she's not wearing a mask indoors to work. What do you guys think about that?
I don't have a comment.
That's a tricky one. Her employer told her she had to wear a mask.
They warned her because she followed the public health's advice that masks are recommended but optional. But she's been suspended without pay for choosing not to wear a mask.
I don't think I'm going to wade in on that one.
Okay.
I think that's totally wrong. Employees should have their personal choice of whether to wear a mask or not. Just like I have my personal choice as a customer. And I won't shop at a store that's going to force me to wear a mask now that it's optional.
Well, interestingly, they're allowing customers to go in without a mask, but it's the employees that they're assuming are not vaccinated that have to mask up. What do you think about that?
No comment from me.
Yeah, I don't think people need to be forced to be vaccinated either. It's their choice.
All right.
That's wrong. Totally wrong.
Yeah, I think, we have the government rules. If the government says you don't have to, it's only recommended, then it's up to individual.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, according to their policy, I guess, from what I could read, it says if you're not vaccinated, that's who has to wear a mask out of their employees. Does that change your opinion at all?
No. Vaccinated or non-vaccinated, it's the same rules to me, right?
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
I'm not vaccinated, so. Yeah.
Careful who you tell that to. You might lose your job these days.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Even that crap.
Yeah, so we should stand up.
Well, it's a really transitional time. And, I know that the shopping centers and all retail outlets are grappling with the issue. So, it's a tough call. They want to ensure that the transition is smooth, that customers feel safe, yet the health order says, they're now moving to optional. So it's just a tough time. And, as an employee, I think I would have erred more on the side of, the shopping center's concern about customers than my personal preference.
Right. So it's an individual store, as you probably saw, that you can walk into the entire mall, and actually their own customers can walk in without a mask. It's just the employees. They have a rule that if they believe you're not vaccinated, those are the employees that have to wear a mask, not the other ones. You still agree with that, or?
I think it's necessary to be compliant. Just again, like Joanne's saying, where we're going through a transition phase. Yeah.
Are
I
you guys-
mean, you have the right to not wear a mask, and I see cashiers all over the place not wearing masks. Like there's everywhere. I mean, you go into a superstore and most people are wearing their mask. The occasional cashier won't be even there. So I don't wear one now that I can't because I got sick of wearing the things. But yeah, that's I think that's crap.
Right.
Like that's inhumane almost. Like take somebody's livelihood away from them just because their personal choice and that they're allowed to make.
Well, Abigail, it's great to see your admirable face again for the stand you took for your own bodily autonomy, which nowadays is on behalf of so many people. Now, tell us what has happened since we last saw you in the mall that day.
Yeah, so I went to my scheduled shift on the Saturday, and that was when I was told that I was suspended from work.
So, first of all, are you here to work today?
If I'm allowed to work without my mask on, I'm here for my scheduled shift.
Okay. So in that case, as we spoke about yesterday, masks are required in this company.
I'd actually like to talk about that write-up yesterday because I was provided a copy of the updated policy an hour before the end of my shift. At the time of my write-up, I was not provided that policy when there was an issue in the morning.
Okay.
And the policy is not updated to reflect anything that took place on June 30th, which was the official end of the pandemic for the BC government. And the mandate was lifted on the 1st.
Once again, Abby, I can't comment on any of those things.
But my concerns are not being heard, so I do not feel that I'm being treated fairly because I'm not able to ask questions or have my questions answered. I'd like to know why the policy is being enforced if the mandate has been lifted.
And I will get you all those
because it is discrimination.
I will get you answers to all your questions. I am just not at a pay grade where I can answer those questions for you.
Okay.
So would you like to make a list of the questions?
Sure.
And I will ensure those get to HR. In the meantime, I do have my thing I have to do.
Okay.
And I will ensure that your questions are answered. Actually, I'm not going to even promise that. What I'm going to do is I will pass your questions along to the HR department, and then they will do with that what they see fit.
By forcing me to wear a mask, though, based on the assumption that I'm not vaccinated, it is discrimination because it effectively forces me to get vaccinated. And I also do believe that the workplace is starting to become hostile because I'm hearing rumors from other employees about my personal conversation with you and how lawyers have been contacted within higher ups of Eddie Bauer. I don't feel that's appropriate.
I'm not sure who you're hearing that from, but it is hearsay, and I don't know what is going on behind the scenes. I can't control what other people say, but hearsay is not anything that I want to even entertain right now.
Later on, I went back to the store and I handed in my key because I didn't want there to be any accusations going forward that I had returned to the store during my suspension. And then I hadn't heard anything from Human Resources until Wednesday that following week. And that was when I was told that I had actually resigned from the store by handing in my key, which was not at all true.
Yeah, I mean, I was with you when you decided to hand back the key. It had nothing to do with quitting. It was such a weird circumstance. Yeah. Everything was up in the air and that's silly. You never said I quit, correct?
No, I did not.
And so have you received any official notice of termination or a verbal,
No, I haven't received anything. I had a phone call with the lady from Human Resources on the following Friday, and she told me that they were going ahead with the termination and that my store manager would be in contact with me. And I have not received a letter of termination, and my store manager has not contacted me.
Well, I also had a hard time contacting Eddie Bauer as well to get their side of the story when it came to this report. I didn't hear back to them. Maybe that's their style. I'm not sure. But you did send over a little bit of the conversation you had in that last call you mentioned. And there was something really bizarre mentioned about your mom being fired. What does that have to do? Can you make any sense of what that had to do with anything?
Yeah, towards the end of the phone call, there wasn't much conversation as I wasn't really being allowed to say anything. But the lady from Human Resources told me that also my mom had lost her job for refusing the vaccine at work, which is not true. My mom has not lost her job. She's still very much employed.
So does your mom work at Eddie Bauer as well?
No, my mom does not work at Eddie Bauer. She has no connection to the company at all.
I hope better opportunities are in store for you, as well as if anybody is watching and feels Abigail will be a good fit for their team, you can reach out to us at Rebel News and let us know. But we will keep in touch. Let us know if you hear anything more final about your situation with Eddie Bauer.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, if you thought this maddening report was over, the worst is just to come. You see, the following day after that interaction you just saw between Abigail and myself, Abigail received a call from Human Resources. She was officially terminated. And take a listen to how she was treated.
I would like to know on what legal grounds I was sent home without pay on. The CDC guidelines are general. We in British Columbia, our mask mandate was lifted and went into effect on July 1st. We are no longer in a state of emergency. There is no legal requirement for me to wear a mask.
Yeah, it's not a legal requirement.
I would like to also know why you're enforcing.
It's being recommended. Here's the bottom line, Abby. And again, you can ask me any question. The bottom line is, if someone hasn't been vaccinated, there is a chance of exposure to people that either haven't had the opportunity to be vaccinated, so younger people or whatever, or people that, medically can't be vaccinated. So the problem is, the recommendation is what we're holding on to at Eddie Bauer. So it's not in question, Abby, and I'm not here to debate that.
But again, you will not let me speak and you will not answer my questions, because please explain to me why this policy is being enforced after the government mandate has been lifted, because it has nothing to do with the health and safety if customers are allowed to freely walk into the store without a mask and you are not aware of their vaccination status.
They're not freely allowed.
They are.
Again, and just so you know, Abby, I think it's important at this point that I'm going to let her know you're on the phone as well, right? So just as a witness.
Who is?
The thing, Abby, is I get it. It's on an honor system. Don't get me wrong. Same in the U.S. It's an honor system. But at the end of the day, we're recommending masks. The CDC is, everybody is. If somebody hasn't been vaccinated, in order to protect our teams, in order to protect people that can be in the store that either medically haven't had an opportunity to be vaccinated or haven't had a time in the queue. So, the thing is, we're going to hold tight to it, Abby. I mean, the bottom line is, if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. That's not our issue. But you have to wear a mask if you're going to be in our store, and you're willing to.
And do you understand that that's discriminating against private medical information, because you have a set of rules for vaccinated individuals and a set of rules for unvaccinated individuals. And you are requesting personal private health information and using that to discriminate against me.
No, I'm not using. Here's the thing. You said something about we were making an assumption. Here's the thing. We have to make an assumption until you tell us otherwise.
Well, here's hoping that bigger and better things come to Abigail than Eddie Bauer very soon. In fact, if you think she'd be good for a position you have to offer, feel free to contact us at Rebel News and we can pass on that opportunity to her. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. Before we sign off on this report, something very important if you're not already aware, we have a petition. Last I checked, over 25,000 people have signed it. It's at stopmedicalsilencing.com. That's because the other side of the story when it comes to vaccinations and public health advice over COVID-19 in general is being suppressed, and our frontline doctors are basically gagged. Please go to stopmedicalsilencing.com, share that petition and sign it. Thank you so much.